Hello. Right, this is a long overdue one. I'm like Neville Chamberlain. I have in my hand a piece of paper. This is for James Randall. And he says Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. Give me a rough idea of how overdue. It's not that overdue. I'm pretty slow. This is good. He says he's thinking of starting on the Haulage Exchange. Like to know a little bit more about 18 tonnes. Now, I have done one on 7.5 tonnes, which in fairness is pretty much kind of the same ilk, but I wasn't running 18 tonnes at the time, or if I wasn't fully clued up to it. So this one is dedicated to lorries on the HX, and I'm going to read all these questions out, hence the piece of paper. I've got my bins actually, but I should be alright. It's quite light and it's relatively early in the day, and I'll give you a rundown as they come. So James, he says, what should I be charging per mile? On average, James, on an 18 tonne, you'd like £3 a mile. He does say, he said like light load 275 a mile up to like 325 if it's heavy, or 225 for a light load. No, I would say it doesn't really work like that, because it's all based on time. It's how much time that lorry's going to be there. It's going to be at a distribution centre. It's, it might only be 3 miles through London, but it might be in there for like 2 hours. So you kind of work it more on time than money. And short jobs paying more than long jobs, because if you say, well, I'm going to charge them £3 a mile and the job is 10 miles, you ain't going to charge them 30 quid. You're going to charge them. So you need a minimum rate. Minimum rate on a lorry, bare minimum 100 quid. And that's literally if you're picking it up from opposite where you're parked and dropping it off to your front door. I would say on average you want to get at least 200 quid on a job on an 18 tonne. And also the first job on the day you want more than the second job. We try and get 300 on the first job. And then that way the second job, you try and get 500 a day. If the second job comes in at 200, 180, it doesn't really hurt so much. If you get a nice one coming back, well done you. But also bear in mind it's seasonal. This is what I'm really talking about. It's the general run of the mill, which is probably March through to mid-December. At the moment, it's quiet. And you take what you can get. It's kind of like supply and demand. You see what jobs are out there. And this goes for vans, 7.5 tonnes, everything. You see what jobs are out there. If you've got the picker jobs, you can quote them all at silly money. Sooner or later, someone might say yes. If there's only one job on there, you might think, I want to go in cheap on that one because I want that job. Because if I don't get it and someone else gets it, my lorry can sit there all day. We're struggling at the moment. I'm making these videos at the moment. I'm doing on average one job a day. But then also you've got to bear in mind you can't make your price too low, because there is a running cost, there is a cost of diesel, there is a cost of wear, tear and spares. There's the fact that because it's quiet at the moment, there's dead miles, a good chance you're going to come back empty. And you go, well, it's 100 miles there, that's 200 miles by the time it comes back. And if I give them it £2 a mile, that's like 200 quid for 200 miles. And I'm probably going to do 100 quid's worth of diesel, and I'm going to probably do 4 hours work at £12.50 an hour on a truck. So it doesn't work out. And it is kind of a learning curve. You go through it. But it's a few other questions the gentleman's got here. He says, he said, weekends work, maybe a bit extra weekends work. Yes, you want to charge a bit extra at weekends work, because very little work at weekends. We kind of work when places are open. You can work, certain people do work early. I know sometimes I get early pickups out of Heathrow, out of Slough, out of Colnbrook, and so I do weekend drop-offs as well. But you want a bit. I had a weekend drop this weekend. I had to meet the fitters at Tesco's on Saturday. You know you're going to come back empty. I checked it all the way home. Nothing. Ain't going to happen. How do you deal with waiting time and pricing? On waiting time, you're looking on a truck you really want, on an 18 tonne, £50 an hour. First hour's free. So, and also when you're picking up or dropping off, so you get frustrating jobs where it takes an hour to load and an hour to unload. There's no waiting time on that. You just get the job. But and you don't really want waiting time. You don't want a lorry sitting there for 2 hours. You go, well, first hour's free, second hour, you sat there for 2 hours, you get 50 quid. That's £25 an hour. That's loot and van money. But it is what it is, because we'll get more money in trucks because they expect that lorries will take longer to get loaded, will take longer to get unloaded, and that's why it pays as much as it does. So you kind of, don't get me wrong, it ain't fortunes, but it's more than vans, and that's one of the reasons why. How do I deal with things like driving time directive, work time directive and all that? The way we work it is 2 jobs and knock. So it's kind of like pick your first job up, if you're waiting, get a break in if you can. You can't always get that one dropped off, have your break, pick your second job up, get that dropped off. You may have to have another break or come home. You've still got time to do that. A thing about 18-ton jobs, a lot of them are short, because it might be we need 12 pallets moved from the regional distribution or from this warehouse to Amazon. We need 12 pallets moved from an RDC to Booker's. You know there's going to be you might be sitting on a bay for 2 hours, but it's probably only the actual driving between the two jobs might be half hour, 3/4 of an hour, and the money's there. So that's kind of the way that one works. Would I recommend a night out, a daily charge? We don't do nights out. I do sometimes. The boys like to say their two jobs are not back to the yards, but if you were going to do like the night out charge, I think 30 quid is reasonable. Pay the driver an extra 30 quid, and you will of course be charging your customer extra for the night out charge. And so he's about to jump into the industry. Would I recommend he starts to jump in on his own or start his own business? I was starting on. I did. I started on my own in the Luton van, which showed me how to do it. And then once I'd mastered the Luton van thing, probably a little bit longer, then I jumped into lorries. It helps for you to get to know the ropes, to get to know how the CX works, to get the run of it. There's nothing stopping you from starting in like a 7.5 or an 18 and just going straight through with that. I hope, but it strikes me that you know what you're talking about with lorries. As I've said before, lorries are involved. There's transport managers, there's parking. As for the work time directive and stuff like that, you have to run that one. You have to talk to your drivers and go, how are you doing? How much time have you got left on your clock? Right, there's another one, because you might be thinking, right, well, he's finished in Milton Keynes. There's one in Northampton. It's got to be picked up in half hour. He can be up there in half hour. You ring him up. I'm on break. Or you can talk to him ahead of time. I'm on break. I'm going to be on break until 1:15. Suddenly, because he can't move for 3/4 of an hour, that's 3/4 of an hour plus half hour. He can't get to that drop until like an hour and a quarter. You can't send him. You ain't going to make it there in time. It all becomes clear. People are there to help you. Just try to be honest with people. Try and throw yourself on a sword. It all becomes clear. And I know that's kind of the run through, but you did ask me a lot of questions. There are more videos on individual questions, like just pertaining to waiting time, just pertaining to what work is like at weekends, that kind of stuff. If that helps you, maybe try them. And in the meantime, I hope it works for you. I genuinely do. It's kind of done okay for me. This lorry here, I'm waiting to meet the new driver. It's going to Coventry. Coventry is starting. Sorry about that. Call came in. Apparently stops recording. I normally put it on airplane mode, but I didn't, so I didn't think I was going to ring me. Anyway, I forget what I said before. This one's going to Coventry. Coventry's starting. Yes! So driver's going to turn up soonish, but I think Al's meeting him. But onwards and upwards. Time to take care. Take money.